If you want more coaching clients without paid ads, then this DM strategy is going to be your new best friend. So make sure to watch this video until the end because I'm going to show you exactly how to get coaching clients using this DM strategy. Now, if we're just meeting for the first time, my name's Nathan, I'm a business coach, and for the past few years, I've helped 6- and 7-figure coaches scale through online marketing. Now, I've opened the doors of my business and I've pivoted to working with early stage coaches who want their first few clients, but either don't know where to start or they just don't know how to market themselves online. So if that's you, I'd love to invite you to download my niche guide. This is the first step to having a profitable online coaching business. You can get it by clicking the link below this video. Now let's dive into the training. How to use DMs to get coaching clients. So there's 3 things you really need to begin with to start making this work. Number 1 is an audience. So you need a niche audience. And we can create this audience in a few ways. Now, if you are not running ads for your coaching business or you're not in the position to do that yet, I would recommend you get on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. If you know who your ideal clients are, you'll know what platforms they're hanging out on. But the beauty of Facebook and LinkedIn specifically is that you can send friend requests or connection requests to your niche client and be hyper specific about who you do this outreach to. Now, if you're on Instagram, it's a little bit more of a follow strategy, engaging with their content, replying to their stories to start conversations, things like that. But these are great platforms to grow your audience when you're just getting started. So, number 1 is your audience. You're going to send connection requests, you're going to send friend requests, you're going to follow your ideal clients on these platforms. Number 2 is leads. So, once you have an audience, you need to get people in that audience to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested in working with you. And we do that through a few different avenues. One avenue is called a 2-step post. This is one of my personal favorites because you get people to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested. Basically, if you make a training, if you make a video, something that's going to benefit your niche, then you can make a post on Facebook, for example, and say, hey, who wants a free copy of my niche training, for example? Comment me. And then all those people who comment are now leads. Another way is just by basically qualifying people through the opening of the conversation, which we'll get into. But 2-step posts are a great way to get people to raise their hands. And it's always a better position if you can get someone to express interest before you reach out to them versus sending a cold message. So, number 3, you have an audience, you've gotten a few people to raise their hands and become leads. Now you need an actual enrollment process. And we're going to dive deep into what that looks like in terms of what questions you need to ask, what boxes you need to check to make sure that 1, they're actually a prospect, 2, they're qualified to work with you, and 3, that you can actually help them get the results and get them on a call to take the next steps. So there's basically 2 ways to build an audience like we discussed, organic and paid, and this is focused all on organic traffic. So again, you're going to send friend requests, you're going to follow people on Instagram who are your ideal client, interact with their content, reply to their stories. It's a great way to kind of slide into the DMs. If you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, again, friend requests, connection requests, and direct messages work great. So essentially, what we need to keep in mind here is there's a temperature on these leads, right? So a cold lead, for example, is somebody who you sent a friend request to, they accepted your friend request, they don't know who you are, they don't really know what you do, and this is not really a great situation to start from. But usually you can just have a nice opening message that's like, hey, Nathan, love the work you're doing. I see you're a business coach. That's awesome. Just more of a statement. And then you see who replies. Now, the people who reply are a little engaged. They're a little interested. You can try to take the conversation deeper. And then anyone who didn't reply, just forget it because these conversations, they can add up quickly and they can get pretty overwhelming. If you're talking to like 100 people, for example, it can take your whole day. So you really want to be selective about who you talk to. So cold leads are the least ideal. Now, this is a whole spectrum of cold to hot. And people who are warm or hot are going to be your best options to do this outreach to. So how do you tell if somebody's warm? Well, maybe they've commented on a number of your posts, or they've liked a number of your posts, different content that you put out. If they're hot, they've probably more come to you directly as an inbound lead and say, hey, I'm interested in what you do. Can you tell me more? So for the purpose of this training, we're going to focus mostly on cold and warm leads. Now, the steps to do this, so we kind of said step 1, which is you send a friend request, follow, or find a way to connect. So you send that opening message, keep it simple, keep it as a statement. You don't really want to go directly into discovery mode. It's best to just open the conversation and say, hey, love the work you're doing, great to connect. Something simple like that. Now, when we're leveraging content, so we can either do a cold DM, like I said, or you can leverage content. And leveraging content is like what I was just talking about, which is basically doing a 2-step post, doing a live. This is another great one where if you do a live, you can get people to engage in the comments while you're doing it. You can also offer them an invitation at the end for something that's going to help them get a result. So maybe you have a free guide you can offer, or a discovery call, or maybe you want to offer them to apply to work with you. These are all ways that you can kind of get permission to send them a direct message and then start to engage with them in conversation. So the whole point of this is we just want to start conversations and see who's actually a good fit, who's really a prospect, who's qualified to work with us, and out of those, what people are actually ready to get on a call. So it's kind of like panning for gold, right? You're shifting through all these different leads and you're saying like, okay, who's actually a good fit? Who's engaged? Who's ready to take next steps with me? So once you leverage content, you do a 2-step post, you do a live, something like that, you are going to talk to a lot warmer leads versus just sending cold messages. Now, let's say you do send a cold message and they reply, you can ask them, like I might ask, hey, tell me a little bit more about your coaching business. What do you do? And then see how they reply. Each person is going to be different. So you're going to guide these conversations in the best way possible. But there's 3 things that we really need to hit on in order to book a call. So step 3 is the framework, the conversation. So the actual framework of these conversations is important, right? We want to kind of get to know their current situation. So what's going on right now? So if you're like a fitness coach, for example, you could ask like, hey, I noticed you're going to the gym. Like maybe you saw some of their posts and they're going to the gym. Like, what are your goals this year? Like, what's your current aspirations with your fitness? And then you kind of get a feel for, where they're at. So for me, I might ask like, tell me more about your coaching business, just something simple like that. And I'll kind of get a feel for where they're at right now, what's their current situation. And from there, it's a natural conversation. We want to be human. And a lot of times we think that there's like a formula, or we think that like, oh, if I just say these words, then this person will book a call with me. But the reality is it's a human conversation. And what we do online is no different than what we do in real life. So you want to have a natural conversation, be human, really talk with these people, see where they're at, and get to know them like if you just met them at a party, right? That's how I like to think about it. Like if I was talking to this person face to face, what's the next question I would ask here? Like what's a natural progression? So there's kind of this ebb and flow between like I'm guiding the conversation to kind of figure out who this person is, what's their situation, where do they want to go, what are their obstacles and struggles right now, and pretty much how soon are they looking to solve this problem. So if you can check those boxes, that's going to be huge in terms of determining if they're a good fit to get on a call. So we have situation, we have goals, and then we have obstacles or pain that they're currently in, and timing. So with regards to the pain that they're in, you could say like, love that goal of making 10K a month. What do you think is holding you back? Or love that goal of, putting on 10 pounds of muscle. What's keeping you from doing that now? Things like that kind of help you dig in a little bit to the pain that they're in and the reasons that they're not achieving the outcome that they want. Now, another question, if you're unsure of, how soon they're looking to get started, like, for example, I talk to a lot of people who have an idea, but they want to launch their coaching business. And I typically ask, like, so how soon are you looking to get launched? Because that kind of gives me a feel for how serious they are. So again, you got to make this specific to your niche. You know your niche best and what questions to ask to check these boxes of what's their current situation, what goals do they have, what pain, obstacles, or problems are they experiencing, and how soon are they looking to solve it. And once you have those things, you can move on to step 4, which is to actually propose or book a call. So let's say you ask somebody what their goals are. And they're like, well, I want to add 10 pounds of muscle. I'm looking to shed a little bit of belly fat, and I really want to get my diet right. That's something I've been struggling with. And so you can be like, hey, I talk to a lot of people who say the same thing, and I've helped others do this. I'd love to hop on a call with you. I'm doing these connection calls right now. Would love to see how I can possibly help you and share a little bit of insight around this. And if you're just offering like a soft connection call, not like a hard, like, hey, let's jump on an enrollment call, this can be a great way to warm people up, especially when you're just getting started. So in the beginning, when you don't have a lot of leverage, when you don't have a lot of content, when you're just starting out, it's great to kind of do these discovery calls and these connection calls just to see, one, like, who are the types of people you're talking to? Are they a good fit for your program? And, can you actually help them or not? And it helps warm them up to you as well. So the whole process with this, the whole process of setting kind of looks like this. So I have basically 6 steps that I walk people through. So first is lead in. So this is like they either DM'd you directly, they raised their hand and said, hey, I want that free thing that you're offering. Like maybe you have a free guide. One of my clients, for example, has a Embody Your Inner Wisdom guide. So she could easily make a post that's like, who wants a copy of my free embodiment of your inner wisdom guide? Anybody who raises their hand is now a lead that she can start a conversation with. So once that happens, you want to secondly make sure that they're actually a prospect, because in the online world, there's all types of people who will opt in for your free things. They'll take you up on your offers. They'll accept your friend requests, but maybe they're not really an ideal prospect. So you want to figure out, is this person in my niche, and are they a good fit? And if you just determine those 2 things, basically, are they an ideal client and can I help them? Then they become a prospect. So they go from being a lead to an actual prospect. Now, there's another delineation that's important to make, which is, sure, this person is a prospect, and that means they're in my pipeline for the long term, but are they qualified? In getting into those questions we asked earlier of like, what's their current situation? What are their goals? Do they even have this problem? Because what can happen oftentimes is we start conversations with people who maybe they don't have the gap that our coaching solves. And so we can talk to them all day and they're never going to hire us as a coach, right? So we want to make sure that they're actually qualified and that they're not just a prospect who fits our customer avatar profile, but that they're actually qualified to do business with us. And we do that through getting into their current situation, their pains, their desires, and how soon they're looking to start with coaching. So once we get those things down, you can move on to step 4, which is, call proposed. So these are basically my pipeline stages. So you want to propose a call once you know these things and you know you can help them and the conversation's naturally going in that direction. We don't really want to force things. And because we're dealing with humans here, there's an infinite number of variables and ways the conversation can go. So let's say you propose the call, they say yes, now you've booked the call. So this is essentially the basic process that you want to take people through. they're a lead. Are they a prospect? Are they qualified? I've proposed a call with them. They've booked a call with me. Now we're starting a conversation. And so everybody's different, like I was saying, and navigating these conversations can go a number of ways. So you always have to be really in tune with what the individual needs. And this becomes really intuitive over time as you're having more and more conversations. And I'll say this too, if you have like 60, 100 leads come in that are interested in what you're offering through maybe your two-step posts or your live trainings, you'll see it accumulates over time. If you do one of these two-step posts a week, if you do a live every week, before you know it, you're gonna have like 100 leads, and it's a lot of conversations to keep up with. So what's really key here is knowing who to actually focus your time on, because you can waste a lot of time talking to the wrong people. So you really wanna make sure they're an actual prospect. You wanna get them qualified as soon as possible. And we don't wanna be overly pushy or needy about it, right? If people don't reply, then just move on and know that they're going to see more of your content, and you'll have opportunities to restart the conversation in the future. Also, if you go too deep into discovery mode too soon, people will stop replying. So you kind of got to feel for like, okay, when is this conversation moving forward and has momentum, and when are they pulling back? Because when they pull back, we don't want to chase them. We want to give them the space that they need. And essentially just know that all these little touch points through starting conversations, through your marketing efforts and the content that you make are going to make a difference in them becoming a client in the long term. So if you know who to focus on, that will help you tremendously, because one conversation with the right person can lead to a client versus 100 conversations with the wrong people. And really, there's 3 lanes that people can be in terms of how soon they're going to become a client. So this is another good thing to consider. There's the fast lane, which is basically like, I need help now. I'm ready to sign up. I know I just met you, but I need this. I know I want it, and you're the person. So fast lane people, you'll see the conversation will move quickly and you can propose a call relatively easily. Now, if they are in the middle lane or the slow lane, this is a longer term nurture play. So we can't just go proposing calls with everybody. So another way that these conversations can go. So let's say you have a connection call. That's one option. Like, hey, let's hop on a discovery call and connect. Another avenue is sending them valuable content. Another great way to get leads is by having a group or community. So if you have a Facebook group, for example, you can ask people when they join, like, hey, what's your biggest challenge when it comes to the gap that you help solve? So what's your biggest challenge when it comes to getting more clients? Or what's your biggest challenge when it comes to, losing your next 10 or 20 pounds? Or what's the biggest challenge you have when it comes to getting in touch with your inner wisdom, right? Whatever it might be, you can get answers when people join your Facebook group, and you can make valuable content that helps them solve these problems. And now you can DM it to people directly who have joined your Facebook group or community. So this is powerful because this is a more longer term relationship building focus, where you're not just trying to book a call with somebody or trying to get them to enroll in your program right away, but rather you're like, hey, here's some valuable content that's going to actually solve your problem, right? So if somebody joined my group and they were like, oh, I need help like crafting my offer, maybe I would do a Facebook Live on like, hey, here's how to create your signature high ticket offer. And then I could send it to that person directly, and they'll get a ton of value from that. They'll remember that, and you're planting seeds for long-term relationships to grow and flourish and blossom into actual clients. So that's really how you want to think about this. This isn't like a short term, like, hey, here's how I'm going to get a client tomorrow, but rather you're building relationships and you're starting conversations, you're adding value, and these people are going to become clients over time. And again, by focusing on the right people, you can accelerate this process and really know, hey, if I focus on like the 20% of people who are most engaged and warm leads, then these people are more likely to become clients sooner. So we have content. We also have invitations. So let's say you do an event like a masterclass, webinar, or you do a live. you can invite people to your event through the DMs, and that is going to help accelerate the process too. Because if they show up to your live and you personally reached out to them and invited them, now they're going through this whole experience with you. They're seeing your magic. They're seeing who you are as a coach. This is going to lend itself to attracting more clients. And honestly, doing these lives and these master classes is a huge lever to pull for warming people up to you and getting them to know what you do, how you can help, and experiencing your magic as a coach. So you can also do enrollment calls for the people in the fast lane. So I'll tell you an example. I had somebody message me the other day and they're like, hey, I was thinking about applying to work with you. I just had a few questions. And I'm like, perfect. So I send them a voice text like, hey, what questions do you have? Happy to help. We voice text a little bit back and forth and determine that, she's a great fit. So I sent her a link to book a call with me. So you can do enrollment calls with the right people, but the goal can't always be that. You can't always start a conversation with an outcome in mind. You have to be non-attached to the outcome. You have to flow with the conversation. You have to see what the person actually wants, where they're at, and how well they know you. Because you really don't want to get on conversations and get on calls with people who don't know you that well, who you're brand new to their world, and you're just trying to sell them something. Like, that's the last thing you want. So you want to come from a position of adding as much value as possible and feeling out, like, where are they on the spectrum? Are they cold? Are they warm? Are they hot? Are they in the slow lane? Are they in the fast lane? And over time, as you practice more, you'll get a feel for this and you'll be able to really know, okay, this is how I can best serve this person in this conversation. And again, this is a super powerful strategy if you layer this intimacy onto your other marketing efforts. It's going to pay off dividends because some people are just kind of, observing your content, they're engaging with you, but they're waiting for you to actually engage with them back and invite them to take the next steps with you. And so if you're just getting started and you don't have a massive email list or massive group or massive list of leads yet, this is the best way to get people to warm up to you quickly and also have an intimate connection with people to invite them to work with you. So it's fast in the sense that you can accelerate the know, like, and trust process and be seen as a likable expert in a shorter amount of time than if they were to just be consuming your content for months. On the other hand, it's a low leverage activity, right? So again, by knowing who you should be spending your time with in these conversations, you have higher leverage. So again, it's kind of grunt work. It's kind of a lot. Like if you spend a few hours in the DMs every day, like your head might be swimming at the end because you've had so many conversations, you've engaged with so many people. So again, knowing who is like the top, 10 to 20% to spend your time with is best. So that kind of transitions to the next thing I was going to talk about, which is long-term versus short-term. So if you're long-term minded, you don't really care if these people become a client now or not. And that's kind of the best frame you can approach this from. So if you're like, hey, I want to get to know this person, I want to see if they're a good fit, I want to see if I can actually help them, I'm going to send them some valuable trainings as I make them and send them valuable content and invite them to my master classes, that is a way more productive and better frame than like, I want this person to book an enrollment call with me. So really the short-term thinking only really works with people in the fast lane who are like, hey, I saw your content, I watched like 50 of your YouTube videos, and I know you can help me, and I'm really interested in working with you. Then you know, okay, this person's in the fast lane. I can kind of ask them a couple of questions, qualify them really quick, and invite them to a call. Now, sometimes people come to you, like I've had this happen before, and they're like, hey, Nathan, I'm ready to work with you. And then I ask them a few questions and they don't reply, right? So those people, maybe they had an idea in their head one day of like, I want to hire a business coach. And then the next day they got cold and they forgot about it. So better for someone like that to actually receive more of your content, see more of your magic, more of your value, than to like actively chase them and be like, hey, did you want to get on a call? How's this week? oh, hey, didn't hear back from you. How about next week? Like, we want to avoid that altogether and just focus on the people who reply, focus on the people who are qualified, and focus on the people who are actually actively building a relationship with you. So it's a two-way street, right? You can't be always putting in, and getting nothing back. So you want to build a relationship with somebody and determine what's best for them and how you can best serve them. That's really what this is all about. So again, this is the main methodology here. You have a lead that comes in, whether that's through a friend request, connection request, or they DM you, or they respond to some of your content like a CTA, a call to action in your lives or your two-step posts. You want to determine, are they actually a prospect or not? Is this somebody that fits my ideal client avatar? And do they need what I'm selling as a coach? And then are they qualified? And in the DMs, we don't want to get too crazy with qualification. We really just need to know what's their situation, what are their goals, their desires, what current pain are they in, what obstacles are they facing, how soon do they want to solve it is optional, but that's also good information. And sometimes I'll ask too, like, how familiar are you with me? Like, how did you find my content? How long have you been following me for? Because if they're like, oh, I just found you like an hour ago, then it's probably not a good idea to get on a call with them unless they're like obviously ready to become a client. So for people who just found me, I might pace the conversation way slower and let it go for months. Think about that. So I would rather have someone who just met me watch more of my content and really warm up to me as a coach so that by the time we do have a conversation, it's actually productive. Because what you want to avoid is, and I've made this mistake, is you get on calls with people who, one, they don't know you, they don't trust you yet, they don't know how great you are at what you do, and this just ends bad always. It's just a dead end, literally. So I've had calls with people who, in the beginning, I was offering a way to invest in mentorship with me early on, like shortly after people opted in for my lead magnet. And so I'd have calls and I'd have conversations, but people wouldn't open up because they didn't trust me enough yet. So if you're able to really get to know somebody and see where they're at and help them warm up to you over the long term, it's going to be way more beneficial than getting on like 100 calls with a bunch of people who barely know you, who aren't opening up about their situation, who don't trust you enough to share really what's going on in their life with you. It's much better to come from a position of like, how can I best serve this person? How can I build a long-term relationship? So once you're at a stage where it makes sense to propose a call, you go ahead and do that, and you make sure the call gets booked. So these are the stages in my messenger pipeline. I would recommend that you do the same. I use a tool called Chat Silo. I'm not affiliated with them. I just enjoy their product, and it works pretty well for keeping everything organized, because you're going to need a tool once you're talking to 100 people. Even if you're talking to 20 people, you're like, whoa, where's this guy at? Let me go back and read the conversation. I don't remember what he said about this. So you can actually tag people and know like, okay, they're just a lead, or they're now a prospect, or they're now qualified. And by doing this, it's going to make your life way easier. You'll have an organized pipeline you can manage of potential clients, and you'll know, again, how can I best serve this person based on where they're at right now. So big takeaways: have a long-term mindset, recognize when someone's in the fast lane, focus on adding value. We really want to build connections. We want to share valuable content. We want to invite people to our masterclasses, our workshops, our live trainings, and we want to enroll only the people who are absolutely ready, who are very engaged with us. So hope this helps, guys. This is the DM strategy I would recommend to get more coaching clients without using paid ads, and we'll see you in the next video. Once again, you can download my niche guide by clicking the link below. It's going to show you how to pick a profitable niche in just 3 steps. All right, see you next time.